Hey Cowboys Nation, welcome back to your go-to spot for all things Dallas Cowboys. Today, we are diving deep into the latest news, player breakdowns, and most importantly, the first look at how this year's NFL draft could shake things up for America's team. There is so much to unpack, from mock drafts to potential roster upgrades. And we are going to break it all down, play by play. As always, the goal is to give you a full, behind-the-scenes view of the decisions that could define the team's future. The conversation starts with Daniel Jeremiah's early 2026 NFL mock draft, and as always, his choices spark plenty of debate. He tends to approach things in a unique way, especially with his early predictions. This year, the Cowboys are projected to make their first pick at number 12, and it is immediately noteworthy because it diverges from what many fans might expect. Mock drafts can be tricky. They give a glimpse into potential outcomes, but rarely match the chaos and surprises of the actual draft. Jeremiah's selections so far suggest a focus on building depth along the offensive line, bolstering the secondary, and targeting a mix of young talent that can step in quickly. The first notable picks in his mock draft set the tone. Two offensive tackles go early. A quarterback is off the board in the top 10, and a handful of running backs and defenders fill the first round for the Cowboys. The reality at pick 12 could be stark. No receivers have gone off the board yet, meaning the team may have to pivot strategically if their top choices are unavailable. Daniel Jeremiah identifies Colton Hood, a cornerback out of Tennessee, as the projected pick for Dallas. Hood is considered a potential plug-and-play starter, which makes him an intriguing option for the Cowboys secondary. Fans should pay attention here because while Hood has the size and skill to make an impact, the question remains whether he is the best fit for the immediate needs of this roster. Beyond Hood, there are other names to watch in the mock draft, from edge rushers to versatile defensive backs. Kendrick Falk, an edge rusher from Auburn, is highlighted as a player with tremendous upside, but with some concerns about consistency and production this past season. Falk's potential is clear. He has the size and athleticism to make plays, but the question revolves around timing and fit. Can he contribute immediately, or does he need development time? This becomes critical for Dallas because the team already has several young defensive linemen and edge players, meaning adding another developmental piece could be less impactful than it might appear on paper. One of the most interesting elements of the discussion is how the draft strategy could shift, depending on what happens in the early picks. For example, if top wide receivers are taken before the Cowboys make their selection, the team may need to consider trading down or adjusting priorities to maximize value. It's not just about filling positions, it's about taking advantage of opportunities as they rise. And that's where mock drafts only tell part of the story. On real draft night, the dynamics are unpredictable, which makes every decision and pick critical. Cowboys fans have to weigh immediate need against long-term upside. And that balance is often the difference between a good draft and a great one. As the mock draft continues past the first dozen picks, several names emerge that could impact Dallas indirectly, even if they don't end up being the team's pick. Players like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, a safety out of Toledo, or Jordan Tyson, who has made waves at the college level, are projected to go in the latter half of the first round. These selections matter because they influence the draft board for the Cowboys and determine which positions will still have top-tier talent available when pick 12 arrives. This is the kind of strategic ripple effect that makes draft planning so intricate, and it's what keeps fans and analysts talking long before the actual event. Another point of discussion in the mock is how the Cowboys manage the first-round picks. The challenge is not only selecting the best players available, but also ensuring those picks address both immediate weaknesses and future needs. Colton Hood could immediately strengthen the secondary, but the team may also be eyeing an edge rusher or dynamic offensive weapon in the other pick. Mock drafts often spark debate about whether teams should prioritize plug-and-play starters versus players with higher ceilings but more development risk. For Dallas, the stakes are high because the roster already has established pieces, and the margin for error is smaller than in some rebuilding scenarios. The first round of mock drafts like this also underscores how certain players can affect the board, even if they aren't selected by the Cowboys. Wide receivers, in particular, are critical in shaping team decisions. When one or the top receivers are off the board early, it creates a domino effect that can influence who is still available at pick 12. That's why teams often monitor multiple positions simultaneously and consider how each pick changes the overall landscape. For the Cowboys, watching the wide receiver market will be key, because having elite targets still on the board can open up opportunities to trade up or down, depending on strategy and availability. While Jeremiah's mock draft gives a structured view of possible outcomes, the reality on draft day is rarely so clean. Injuries, team needs, and surprises from other franchises can all alter projections dramatically. For the Cowboys, preparation is about flexibility, being ready to pivot based on how the draft board moves. Hood at 12 is just one scenario, but the team may also look at alternative targets to maximize value. Players like Brandon Cease or emerging edge rushers could provide different skill sets or fill gaps in the roster, offering other paths to improving the team in meaningful ways. The broader takeaway from this early look at the draft is that the Cowboys are positioned to make impactful choices, but must remain strategic. Edge rushers, cornerbacks, and secondary pieces all remain priorities, but the challenge is balancing development with immediate contribution. Fans are rightly focused on who will step into starting roles quickly, who has the upside to grow into a star, and how the team manages the first-round selections effectively. Every choice sends a message about direction, philosophy, and ambition, making the draft one of the most exciting events of the year for Cowboys Nation. With all of that in mind, it's important to remember that mock drafts are a starting point, not a final verdict. Colton Hood and Kendrick Falk are intriguing possibilities, but much can change as evaluations progress, workouts are conducted, and more information becomes available. The conversation surrounding this mock draft highlights the balance between proven talent, positional needs, and the risk of selecting players who may require development. For fans, the suspense and strategy are as thrilling as any game, because each pick has the potential to reshape the team's future and define the next era for America's team. As we continue analyzing the early mock draft for the Dallas Cowboys, the conversation shifts to what happens immediately after their first pick. Colton Hood going at 12 sets a foundation, but the second pick, projected later in the first round, carries almost as much weight. Teams often focus on filling multiple needs simultaneously, and for the Cowboys, the second selection presents an opportunity to reinforce areas that may have been overlooked in the first round. With the first pick addressing a cornerback need, attention turns to either edge rushers, versatile defensive backs, or offensive players who can make an instant impact. The choices made here can define the balance of the roster for years to come. One of the main names highlighted in this portion of the mock is Kendrick Falk, an edge rusher out of Auburn. His profile is intriguing because he combines size, athleticism, and an upside that could be transformative if utilized correctly. At 6'6" and around 185 pounds, Falk has the physical traits to challenge opposing offenses consistently. However, there are legitimate questions about his production last season. While he was more dominant in the prior year, this past campaign showed fewer sacks and pressures, which raises concerns about consistency. For the Cowboys, evaluating Falk is about understanding how to deploy him effectively without creating redundancy in a defensive line that already has multiple interior pass rushers. The strategy surrounding Falk also highlights a broader theme in team building: how to balance potential with immediate need. On one hand, he has the tools to develop into a high-impact player. On the other, relying on a developmental piece could slow momentum for a defense that needs starters who can contribute right away. Comparisons to players like Cam Hayward and Michael Williams suggest a role where Falk could serve as a base end, moving inside on passing downs to create disruption. Yet the Cowboys must weigh that against their current roster composition, which includes both edge speed and interior rushers capable of generating pressure. The decision is nuanced, and the stakes are high because the difference between a breakout player and a project can shift a season. Meanwhile, the mock draft also reveals the movement of other key prospects and how they influence Dallas' strategy. Players like My Lemon, Vega O, and Cassius Hell are projected to be taken immediately following Hood, which gradually reshapes the board for wide receivers and secondary talent. This domino effect is crucial because the Cowboys are in a position where a top receiver could still be available, but timing is everything. The team has to decide whether to prioritize a known commodity or gamble on potential upside at other positions. Every selection impacts the available pool of players and can influence the remaining draft strategy, making it a delicate dance of prediction and planning. Additionally, safety prospects like Emmanuel McNeil Warren and other defensive backs are highlighted as high-value options. In this part of the draft, Warren, coming out of Toledo, is noted for his versatility and ability to contribute immediately, particularly in coverage schemes that demand agility and awareness. The presence of these players underscores the importance of the secondary for Dallas this year. While Hood may shore up the cornerback position, adding depth and talent in safety could allow for more creative defensive strategies. The mock draft paints a picture of a Cowboys team that is actively considering both immediate impact and depth for future seasons, which is vital given the physical demands of the NFL. Wide receivers remain a major talking point throughout this stage of the draft. Although the Cowboys have not taken one yet, their availability or scarcity can drastically change draft day decisions. If top receivers are selected before pick 12 or 20, it forces Dallas to either trade or shift priorities. The strategic importance of wide receivers cannot be overstated. They not only influence the passing game, but also affect how defenses plan for the team overall. A receiver who can stretch the field and create mismatches offers the offense flexibility, potentially elevating the production of the quarterback and opening running lanes. Consequently, teams closely monitor receiver selections by other franchises to anticipate changes in draft positioning and strategy. Looking further down the mock, there are several other intriguing players projected to go in the latter half of the first round. Players like Jordan Tyson, Akeem Mazador, and Carnell Tate show the diversity of talent that could influence Dallas choices. Each of these prospects brings a unique skill set, whether in coverage, pass rush, or route running ability. The interplay between team needs, positional scarcity, and player potential creates a high-stakes environment for the Cowboys front office. Drafting is never just about selecting the best player available. It is about maximizing value, filling gaps, and projecting how each athlete will contribute to the team's immediate and long-term goals. Another key consideration is how the Cowboys approach the balance of their roster between veteran leaders, hip and incoming talent. Drafting the first-rounders presents both opportunity and risk. On one hand, it allows the team to bring in impact players who can address immediate weaknesses. On the other, missteps in evaluation or strategy could leave the roster with gaps that are difficult to fill in later rounds. This is where scouting, pre-draft workouts, and analysis play a critical role. Players like Hood and Falk represent calculated bets based on talent, fit, and potential contribution. But the true measure will be seen once they integrate with the existing team during training camp and the regular season. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. And what could be the most shocking move of the offseason? Whispers are circulating that STEPHON Gilmore might be making a return to the Dallas Cowboys, potentially taking the reins as the undisputed leader of the defense. Gilmore, a seasoned veteran with a reputation for lockdown coverage and game-changing interceptions, would bring not only skill but a level of experience and swagger that the Cowboys' defensive unit has been craving. Sources close to the team suggest that discussions have been quietly underway, and while nothing is confirmed, the mere hint of Gilmore's return has already sent shockwaves through the fanbase and the league. Analysts are speculating that his presence could completely reshape Dallas' defensive scheme, providing the secondary with a mentor who can elevate younger players while still performing at an elite level himself. The possibility of Gilmore donning the Cowboys star again has ignited debates across sports talk shows and social media, with fans imagining the potential matchups and big plays he could engineer in the heart of the defense. Insiders say that the Cowboys management has been evaluating not just his on-field abilities, but also the intangible leadership qualities that Gilmore brings. Known for his high football IQ and tenacity, he could serve as the vocal leader that rallies a defense hungry for identity. The timing of this rumored reunion could be strategic, aiming to shore up a secondary that has faced inconsistency, while also sending a message to the rest of the league. Dallas intends to dominate with experience and talent, while speculation continues to swirl. The football world is buzzing with the prospect of Gilmore's return. Could the veteran cornerback become the cornerstone of a revitalized defense? Or is this just another tantalizing offseason rumor? Either way, Cowboys fans are watching closely, ready to embrace a narrative that blends nostalgia with the tantalizing possibility of a defensive renaissance. If this deal comes to fruition, the defensive landscape in Dallas could look dramatically different next season. And the ripple effects across the NFC would be impossible to ignore. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.